Hey folks, how we doing tonight? It's June 10th, 2021. And it's part 3 of the Legends series. I don't know why I'm going so Italiano right now, but it just seems right. It seems good. Nah, folks, how we doing? My name's Joe Miglio. I got my buddy John McCarthy here. And we are ready to bring you episode number 16, John? Is that right?
Episode 16.
Episode number 16 of the Perfect Spiral podcast. We got a lot going on tonight. We got some running backs to discuss. We got some Julio Jones to discuss. We got the Nets-Bucks game on the television right here. I got my white cheddar popcorn to my right. I got my phone to my left. And I got my good-looking friend John right in front of me. So, if you're looking for a relaxing podcast, get the hell out of here. We ain't about that shit tonight. We got a top 11 to discuss on who the greatest running backs are of all time. I'm going to tell you, it gets a little spicy right from the get-go. You're going to wait to find out. Here we go. PSP is on a roll. And let's rock. John, I can't tell you. I just keep
you keep switching it up on everybody.
Trying different things, keeping people, on the edge of their seat. You don't want to be predictable.
You went Goodfellas for the first 15 seconds.
Yeah, you know about that? Johnny two times. How you doing?
How you doing?
Hey.
Get the papers.
So, yeah, how's everybody doing tonight? We got my Joe Miglio here, of course, from John McCarthy. John, this is a bad idea putting this Nets-Bucks game on right next to us.
We've done this before. What did we do? We did this with another game, and then we did this with baseball. I forgot.
Did we? I forget, but we did this, and it's a close game.
It really is a close game.
64-61 Milwaukee at the 62 now after the free throw.
Almost the end of the third.
It's going to be a good fourth quarter. But we have episode 69. It is June the 10th at 9:29 Eastern time at night. And, there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the Miglio life and the McCarthy life. So we got a late night pod. John, how are you doing on this fine Thursday evening?
I'm not doing too bad. I just took my dog to the vet. She made an ass out of me, of course.
Why? What'd she do?
No, she doesn't leave the car. So she's weird with the car suddenly, and then she doesn't leave the. Oof, that was terrible. She doesn't leave the car, so it took 15 minutes to get her out.
Social anxiety?
I don't know. It took forever to get her out of the car until I said, Maddie, get the fuck out of the car. And she literally just walked right out of the car. I had to say that in order for her to leave the car. It made no sense.
Do the vet people have to come out and get her out?
Yeah, they came out and he tried and he felt bad, but at least this guy was cool. The last chick kind of almost hurt her, so I got a little nervous. But
oh, really?
Anyway, here's what it is.
What are you gonna do, bro? So we have now discussed our wide receivers.
Our cornerbacks.
And our cornerbacks. And if you like to catch those episodes, please watch episode number 14 and episode number 15. But before we get into the running backs of the Legend series.
Yes.
John, we have to. As a football podcast, it goes against our nature not to discuss the release of the preseason schedule. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to discuss. We're not going to discuss the release of the preseason schedule.
Holy cow.
But we are going to discuss the Julio Jones trade.
Yes.
The latest trade to rock the NFL world. I know that you're hot about something.
I'm very hot about this trade.
So before we get into it, let me give you the details.
Yes, give me the details of the trade.
Julio Jones was sent to the Tennessee Titans, much to my dismay, to join A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and company. And he was traded from the Falcons along with a 2023 sixth-round pick, okay, to the Tennessee Titans for a 2022 second-rounder, so that's this upcoming draft second-round pick, and a fourth-round pick in 2023.
Okay.
The Titans needed to create cap space in order to absorb Julio's contract. So Ryan Tannehill was nice enough to restructure his deal where instead of earning, I believe, $30 million this year, he's now only going to earn $15.6.
Yes, and they cleared up $15 million.
Which freed up the $15.3 million to take on Julio Jones's contract. Now, the 4th round pick for the that the Falcons received from the Tennessee Titans is a conditional pick. So if the Titans receive a compensatory pick in round 4, then the Falcons will get that pick. If not, Atlanta will receive Tennessee's original 4th round pick.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Now, that being said, before we get into who you're mad at, who won this trade?
So, I feel like Tennessee won this trade.
You do?
I do. I think that, so when you look at the compensation, I feel like the compensation was right on. I don't think you were getting a 1st round pick for a wide receiver. I think DeAndre Hopkins, that trade set the market, right? So that set the value for wide receiver at 2nd round. We're starting there, right? No matter who you are.
Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins is also, like, at this point in his career, better than Julio. And Julio's also older, coming off of some injuries, you know? So in order for, like, when they were thinking they were going to get a 1st round pick, that's blasphemous. You're not actually getting a 1st round pick. The 2nd and the 4th round pick is fantastic. I think that's great value. I think it adds another weapon for Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill has significantly better numbers. Like if you're going through like certain stats, I think it was actually like deep ball percentage. I think he was actually 10% or 12% better than Matt Ryan.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's a big arm quarterback. He's not afraid to throw the ball in the end zone. And I think that this creates a situation on offense where you can't load the box and you can't double either guy, right?
Well, let's pump the brakes for a second.
It's going to be hard.
Let's pump the brakes for a minute. I think you're half right. Half right.
Okay.
I don't think, and I've always thought this way, Ryan Tannehill's a good quarterback. I'm not stupid. Mm-hmm. Right? I even as much as I don't want to say that Tannehill's not a good quarterback because he plays mid-division, he is. He's had a good couple of years. But let's not sit here and pretend that he's good because like he was good in Miami. He's good because he feeds really well off the run game.
Yeah.
Right? Like Derrick Henry's still the engine to that car.
Of course.
Right? I don't think defenses are going to stop putting 8 in the box. Simply because there has not been a team, or I shouldn't say that. Anytime Derrick Henry does not have a great game, look at Ryan Tannehill's numbers. They're not off the charts good.
Yeah.
You know, and listen, they are definitely the best team in the AFC South. It's not a contest, it's not a competition. You
had them in your way too early predictions as winning the division.
I did, yes.
Yes.
I did. This only solidifies that for me.
Yeah.
But in terms of AFC, I still rank them below Kansas City. I still rank them below Buffalo. I still rank them below Cleveland.
Of course.
And mainly because their defense is not up to snuff.
No, it's not what it was. Exactly.
So, and I don't know if Tennessee is a team now. Let's say they average, 22 to 24 points a game last year? If they have Julio Jones, how are they going to average 30 points a game? I don't think so. I mean, I've said it since the beginning of this podcast. Julio Jones is allergic to the end zone, and I still believe that. But I do want to get on you a little bit because, and it's not just you; it's a lot of other people. There's this notion out there that Julio Jones is injury prone, which is a complete fabrication. I don't know where people get this from, but it's not true.
He plays through a lot of injuries.
He plays through injuries, and he shows up on the injury report a ton. And in the fantasy football world, that he's constantly, is he in or is he out? But the reality is he's always in. If you look at his career and you look at the games that he's played, the only time he missed time was last year.
Well, see, and I agree with you, but you know what the issue is with Julio, Joe? The issue with Julio is that he has those 1 or 2 games a year where it's like, holy shit, he had 300 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns, and then he's quiet the rest of the year. And he's just kind of consistent. Even though he has the highest yards per game average in NFL history, it's 96.5 is his average yards per game. Highest in the NFL, like ever. it's those few games where he like pops and then you don't hear from him. But like you said, I don't know how much this moves the needle on Tennessee. I agree. It makes them better.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, because you have 2 number 1 receivers now.
Right. Kills AJ Brown's fantasy value.
Oh, and I was gonna bring that up to you. I think it kills AJ Brown's fantasy value. I don't think you can draft either one of those guys with serious confidence. I feel like I draft Derrick Henry with even more confidence, but I don't think I draft AJ Brown or Julio Jones, and I'm like, wow, this is my number 1 receiver.
I can't talk about. John was really excited for the Legend Series, and rightfully so. I am pumped for fantasy football season.
Oh, me too.
Can't wait.
I don't think anybody's ready for that conversation.
Oh, it's gonna be so fucking great.
Because we would talk like right before, and it's like it's just gonna be recorded now.
Fun. All right, so tell me, who are you angry at for this trade?
I'm angry at a few teams, but I'm gonna go back to a team that still continues to piss me off and absolutely boggle my mind.
So mine is the Raiders. I think we've established that on this podcast.
Yeah, yours is the Raiders,
and yours is the
Baltimore Ravens. Can somebody wake up Eric DeCosta and let him know when any of these receivers are on the trade market? Like, does he know? Like, is
apparently,
he aware?
from what I read too, they were out pretty early on.
Like, why though? This is what I don't understand, Joe. Why? Lamar's up for an extension this year. You could sign Lamar to the extension. I think they're going to play fucking games and they're not going to sign him right away. I think he will be the last quarterback to sign his extension out of Baker, Josh Allen, and him.
Really?
I think he's going to be the last one.
Over Baker?
I think Baker gets the extension pretty quick because Cleveland doesn't know. Like, this is the best stretch that they've had. They're going to want to keep what they have going.
Right, I hear you. Makes sense.
But I think they're going to play games. And the fact that you still have not... I don't care if you drafted Rashad Bateman. I don't care. I really don't. If Julio Jones is available, and especially if you're a team that's contending like they are, and it's a 2nd and a 4th round compensation, why even think about it?
It's the money, John. It's the money.
But that's bullshit.
I hear you, because if you really want a guy, you go get a guy. You know?
Yeah.
Like the Titans restructured Ryan Tannehill's deal. You're telling me that there's not a guy in that team you could restructure their contract at Julio Jones on the roster?
Joe, the biggest miss in NFL, like in organizations, is not winning when your quarterback's on a rookie contract. And I firmly believe that. Lamar Jackson is still on a rookie contract.
That's why I'm so excited about Trevor Lawrence, because this is your time to strike. Right?
Exactly. This is your time to strike.
Right. You get 2 years. You get like a year and a half to 2 years where like you're like, okay, like let them build. And then years 3 through 5 is the years that you're like, all right, it's go time.
Yeah.
You know?
And then when you sign that guy to that big deal, you know what happens? You throw your championship window out the window out the window. Because you tied so much money into one player, it's hard to really maneuver the cap. So they don't go after anybody. They didn't try for Hopkins. You don't even try to sign Antonio Brown. You don't go and try to trade for Julio. Those are 3 all-pro receivers that they have now whiffed on. Come on.
You say whiffed. Did they even go to the plate?
I don't know. I mean, it's unfathomable. It shakes me to my core, honestly, watching this. And you know what? But don't worry. They signed Gus Edwards to a 2-year, $10 million.
Hey.
I know.
Don't hate on Gus
I
Edwards.
played high school football with
Okay,
him. He's a good kid. I'm not saying
hate on
that,
Gus Edwards.
but come on.
Listen, I think it's one of those teams that's frustrating because, you know, like they're a perennial playoff team with their roster that they have constructed, you know? Mm-hmm. But they're never going to do anything serious until they make a move. And one of the main moves they have to make is to get that wide receiver. And they just, you know, it's like, do they refuse to do it? Do they not want to do it? I'm just thoroughly confused as to like I don't know what they're waiting for.
No,
I don't know.
And you know what's gonna happen this year is they're not gonna have a number 1 wide receiver. Oh my God! Can we just?
He
actually hit it. I was gonna talk so much shit just now that he wasn't gonna hit that. Giannis loves to take threes, and he's an awful 3-point shooter. But anyway, all right. We're mad at the Ravens. Let's start the Legends series. I don't want to get even more mad.
All right, let's take a quick break really quick after the Julio chat. When we get back, we're going to start the countdown on the running back for the Legend series.
Hey y'all, Spencer Blinn, the producer for Perfect Spiral Podcast, and you're listening to my band Hollow Choir's new song, What You Want. Available now on Spotify.
What you want?
All right, and we're back, folks. We are ready to discuss the running back situation and the Legend Series. John, our top 11 is here. We discussed and we went over. I'm just pulling out the stops here. 24 running backs. Okay. This is our smallest sample size yet. Now, it was pretty easy for us knowing who the top 3 was going to be.
Yeah.
Right? But numbers 4 through 11 were pretty it
was a surprise.
It was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
So, here are some guys that we obviously discussed and who we ranked, and they fell short of the top 11.
Yeah.
Guys like Frank Gore, honorable mention. Jamal Lewis, who was John's pick. I wasn't crazy about that, but whatever. We'll let it rock. Earl Campbell, Adrian Peterson. Sorry, John. Sorry. Apologies, buddy. Edgerrin James, Curtis Martin, John Riggins, O.J. Simpson, and Jim Taylor, who was the running back for the Green Bay Packers during their golden years. One man I want to quickly talk about before we go into our top 11. He was not going to make our top 11 due to the criteria and the algorithm that we had portrayed. But I do want to discuss him for a second because he definitely gets an honorable mention here for me, and that's Gale Sayers. Mm-hmm. Gale Sayers played for the Chicago Bears from the mid 60s to the early 70s, and he had phenomenal numbers. Only played 6 years in the NFL.
Yeah,
not play a long time, and just the way that his stats accumulated, they weren't going to crop up with the top, with the top guys. So it was a little difficult to really gauge where he was and where he would end up if we kind of simulated, where he's going to be if he played over a long period of time. But I never really watched. Obviously, I didn't watch Gale Sayers play, but I just wanted to highlight him and saying that if I would, without a shadow of a doubt, if he played an actual NFL career that we see today, he would easily be a top 5 selection for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go on the pod and do the top 11 without discussing Gale Sayers. So, and he recently passed away, so I just want, it's also a nice send off for him. So
this was a little bit of a tough list. It was a little closer than we thought.
It was definitely closer than we thought. I kind of had an idea of who I thought was going to end up where, but pretty early on in the process, there was a raw score of someone who I'm going to talk about when we get to that person who we got, and I was like, wow, that's pretty low for that guy, and that really kind of shook me as to where this list was going to go. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, let me pull up the first player that we are going to discuss, and that is going to be the Bus, Jerome Bettis, coming in at number 11.
Whoa.
Just talk about a shocker. I did not think that Jerome Bettis was going to have a lick in this top 11, but
I didn't think so either.
But reality struck me. I mean, Jerome Bettis has some nice numbers here, John. I did not think he was as good as he was.
No, I didn't. When you sent me the list and I saw Jerome Bettis at 11, I sent you in all caps saying Jerome Bettis made the top 11.
Yeah.
I was not expecting, not even in the slightest.
Well, so let's quickly go over Jerome Bettis' numbers, and then we'll talk about Jerome Bettis as a player, because he did play while the two of us were growing up, and into, I believe, 2005 was his last season. So Jerome Bettis is obviously a Hall of Famer. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler. He's a 2-time All-Pro. He's won the Super Bowl once, and that was in 2005 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was the 1993 Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was the 1996 Comeback Player of the Year, and he won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award in 2001.
Yes.
His career numbers are as follows: 13,662 rushing yards, a lot more than I thought he ever accumulated. 91 rushing touchdowns. The thing is, it's funny too because his numbers are sneaky. He only had over 10 rushing touchdowns twice in his career, and that was in 2004, his second to last season, in 1996, his first season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If anyone doesn't know about Jerome Bettis, he did not play his entire career with Pittsburgh. He did start out with the Los Angeles Rams in 93, 94, and 95 after they moved to St. Louis for the first time that year. Jerome Bettis was not a huge guy who was in the receiving game. He had 200 career catches, so he was mainly just a runner. But if you look at his, and it's weird because
big guy.
He only averaged over 100 yards a game once in his career, and that was in 1997. But he played on a team where. And I think this is the thing that goes unnoticed with the Jerome Bettis Steeler teams. When Jerome Bettis was on the Steelers, he was the focal point of the offense for 10 years. Mm-hmm. From 96 to 2005, whenever you played the Steelers, right? And we're talking Neil O'Donnell years, we're talking Cordell Stewart years, and then we're talking at the Tommy Maddox, and then at the very end, we're talking Ben Roethlisberger, okay?
Yeah.
He was the focal point of the offense throughout his whole tenure. Right?
That's important.
And let's not forget, Jerome Bettis doesn't win a Super Bowl if Mike Vanderjagt doesn't hook a 21-yard field goal to lose that game in the divisional round in Indianapolis in 2005. But
he wins it on his last year, too.
Yeah, he wins it on his last year. He goes out a champion. But he was just remembered for John running over people. Just like his nickname was the Bus.
I thought he was a fullback for the longest time.
Yeah, he was built like a fullback.
Massive man.
He's just a guy, and he was underneath that mean, like really, he fits the mold for the Pittsburgh Steeler mean guy. Big, nasty. Underneath that helmet, man, he was such a nice and gentle guy, and got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. 10 years after he played his final game. So, Jerome Bettis coming in at numero. What's the Spanish word for 10?
Oh God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Diez.
No, it's 10.
That's what I need. Oh, 11.
I don't know.
We tried. Let's stick to English on this podcast.
Yeah, I have no idea.
All right, so John, with Jerome Bettis coming in number 11.
All right.
Number 10. I like number 10.
Number 10 is interesting. Number 10 is actually, hold on, I'm going to pull him up now. Number 10. Oh, wait, did you say Jerome Bettis' raw score?
Oh, Jerome Bettis' raw? I did not, thank you. Jerome Bettis' raw score was 80.
Okay.
Pretty low for running. Running backs were typically lower than everybody else on our raw score list so far this year. And it's not an indication that running back is a weak position overall. It's just I think the way that it was scored, it's just lower than the other positions.
So I'm gonna pull up his information really fast.
So here, give us his stats first, and then give us the name.
Okay,
I like that.
All right, so Hall of Famer, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time MVP, 2006 Offensive Player of the Year, and a former Walter Payton Man of the Year winner. Okay.
All right. When did he play?
He played from 2001 to 2011.
Okay.
Mostly with the same team. 14,000 rushing yards, 145 total rushing touchdowns. And receiving touchdowns, he had 17 in his career, which there's an interesting thing with this guy. This guy goes by the name of LaDainian Tomlinson. LT comes in at number 10.
Number 10
with a
raw
score of 80.5. Now, I'll say this about LaDainian Tomlinson.
Half a point higher than Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, half a point. Very close. So I'll say this about LaDainian Tomlinson. It is a damn shame that those Chargers teams did not win a Super Bowl. Because they were very good, if you remember.
The early 2000s.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers played on a torn ACL in the AFC Championship game.
Yes, I do remember that. That was the year I thought that they should have won the Super Bowl, personally.
So People forget. I just want to say this. So the league now, when you are a wide receiver, I mean, not wide receiver, you need to be, when you're a running back, you need to be multifaceted, right?
Right. Christian McCaffrey's.
When Arian Foster was around.
Oh my God. I feel like this was the birth, though.
Yes, this was the birth of that. And you know what's crazy is I personally think that LaDainian Tomlinson was too early. If we're saying too early, too late, I think he was too early. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons where he had over 1,000 yards rushing. In 2006, he had almost 1,900 yards rushing and 28 touchdowns. That's just rushing. He averaged 113 yards a game. He also had 56 receptions for 508 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
In 2003.
And that was like unheard of back then, right?
Unheard of, Joe. So listen to this. You want to hear something that's going to blow your mind right now? In 2003, he was not an All-Pro and he was not a Pro Bowler. He had 1,600 yards rushing and 13 touchdowns. He was the first running back to have 100 receptions in a season for 725 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was not a Pro Bowler and he was not an All-Pro that year.
That's a great point.
If he did that now, which is why I'm saying he's too early,
right?
He's the best running back in the league. With those rushing numbers and the receiving numbers, people forget just how dominant LaDainian Tomlinson was. Not to mention he was fast as shit.
That the year he scored 28 touchdowns.
Yeah, like insane numbers. So he comes in at number 10.
I mean, I remember if LT, going and really doing so many impressive things when I was a kid. And it didn't like... I feel like he was never talked about as like this otherworldly talent.
No, he wasn't. He never was.
Which is crazy to me.
And now people gush over Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey is LaDainian Tomlinson. How crazy is that?
LT was smaller than a lot of running backs.
Yeah.
And he was like bulky. And oh God, Giannis just got the ball stuck on the top of the hoop. Unbelievable. But he's a guy
small.
that he deserved to win a Super Bowl.
He really did.
He had his chance a couple times. His last year in the league, he was with the Jets. That was that 2010 team that went to the AFC title game and they lost to the Colts.
He's one of those guys where it hurts for me. It hurts that he didn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's just, oh my God. And I remember that year he had 28 touchdowns. I remember watching the game where he got the 28th touchdown. And I'm watching it with my dad. And my dad said, I remember he said, Joe, I'll never see this again. I'll never see a running back score 28 touchdowns in a season. Like, it's not going to happen. And the way the league is going, you're shocked if you get a running back that scores 20 touchdowns in a season.
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't get to the end zone as much as they should.
And honestly, like the early 2000s was the beginning of the air raid generation, right? And we said this last week because we're talking about corners and specifically about Ty Law, that Kurt Warner and the Rams, that greatest show on turf, really birthed the air raid offense. Mm-hmm. And I think, in spite of all of that, in spite of Phillip Rivers and all these other guys, Antonio Gates coming alive and all this stuff, LT was the guy who was like, nah, give me the load. I'm going to take this team where we need to get to. And the problem is that Tom friggin' Brady was always standing in his way.
Yep. And that's another discussion for when we talk about Tom, who is... an inevitable discussion when we get to the quarterbacks.
Right, of course.
And that's a good point of how many...
I'm sorry to bring this up, but I can't wait to see what Tom's real score is.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. Not to go into Tom on the LaDainian Tomlinson discussion, but it just goes to show how many players he stopped from winning championships.
Right.
Very Jordan-esque in that respect.
Very Jordan-esque in that respect.
But
all right. So we got Jerome Bettis at number 11, and we got LaDainian Tomlinson at number 10.
Number 9 is a fun one.
Number 9, I will say this, is widely regarded as the top running back by a lot of people of all time. But our raw score did not bode well for this player. Me personally, I think this player is the most talented running back to ever play the game.
185% yes.
The most talented running back to ever play the game. Now, is he the best running back to ever play the game? No. For a multitude of reasons. But number 9 is the great, the legendary Barry Sanders. Now, people are going to scoff at us because Barry Sanders is number 9.
Real quick, Barry Sanders' raw score is
83.
83.
And when I spoke about before and I said there were people who were rated low who I was like, wow, that was Barry Sanders. I was like, damn. Right? Because I wrote my list and it was Emmitt Smith, then I did Walter Payton, then I did Barry Sanders. And Walter Payton and Barry Sanders had a pretty big discrepancy. And I was like, wow, why so much? And then I looked at his numbers and I was like, oh, well, he only played for 10 years.
Yeah.
He played for the Detroit Lions, so that really didn't give him any help. But look at his accolades, right? 10-time Pro Bowl, 6-time All-Pro, MVP, All-90s team, 1989 Rookie of the Year, 1999 Best Running Back Award, 1994 Offensive Player of the Year, 1997 Offensive Player of the Year, 1997 Best Running Back in the league. Career 15,269 rushing yards, 99 touchdowns in his career. John, look at me. The man played 10 years and had 15,000 rushing yards.
Yep.
We just discussed Jerome Bettis and LaDainian Tomlinson, who both played longer years and did not have as many rushing yards. If this man, and I fully believe, and nobody can tell me different, I think he retired because he never played on a winning team.
Nope. And that goes to the organizational failure of the Detroit Lions.
I think he retired because he was so tired from carrying the load for so long and not reaping any rewards or benefits to it whatsoever. And it's sad. I mean, this man in 1997, the second to last year of his career, averaged 128 yards a game, John. Mm-hmm. He averaged 128 yards a game. He ran for 2,000 yards. Like, it's just incredible. He wasn't a crazy receiver. He caught over 350 passes.
Isn't that the most yards rushed in a season all time is 2,053?
Yeah, 2006 was Chris Johnson. Jamal Lewis, I think, was 2000 and
then AP missed it by 5 yards.
Yeah, something like that. But he had 5 seasons of his 10, half of his career, where he ran for over 1,500 yards. Every year of his career, he ran for over 1,000 yards. Every year of his career, he ran for over 1,000 yards.
In 1993, he ran for over almost 1,200 yards in 11 games. If you go and you watch Barry Sanders, his vision was just
it was incredible,
unreal. I mean, the closest thing I've seen to it since is Saquon Barkley, but I mean that's not really a discussion. And it's funny you say that because I want to bring up a discussion when it comes to Barry Sanders and the organizational failure of the Detroit Lions. He's another guy where, let's say he was in the league now. He's one of those guys that plays the card of, I want out.
Think so?
Get me to the team that I want to get to.
You really think so?
Well, back then it wasn't as relevant.
Back then you played for the team you were on. And
exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you think he's looking at it like, wow, if I was in this era, I could play that card. And you know what? It's terrible. The Detroit Lions, this wasn't the first time it happened. Won't be the last time it happened. Calvin Johnson, same situation.
Matthew Stafford.
Those are 3 great players that have been in that Lions organization in their history.
And 2 of them played during the same era.
Yep. And they left because, well, they just don't win.
Well, Calvin Johnson retired.
Yeah, and because you think he retired because he didn't want to play anymore? Calvin Johnson had a ton left in the tank. It wasn't even a question. He retired because of organizational failure. Barry Sanders is just, it's sad to see him so low on the list because I really thought he was going to be way higher.
Right.
But if he was on a different team, it would have been a different story.
I mean, it's like a story that, you know, if you were to put it into a movie, like it would have to be like a good movie, right? It's supposed to be a happy movie. And when you see the movie and then it ends, you're like, oh, that's it? Like, that's how it ends? Like, there's no
like a cliffhanger.
There's no like light at the end of the tunnel? And there's not. It's just like, it's a pretty, I hate to say this, but it's a pretty sad career.
Yeah, very. A ton of personal accomplishment, but you guys play to win championships. And he's a guy, it's sad that he never got the opportunity to do that, you know?
It's a shame. It really is a shame.
It's unfortunate.
But Barry Sanders coming in at number 9. KD just hit a 3 in PJ Tucker's face to, kind of do whatever he wants. No, but we got number 8. John, number 8's a good one. Somebody who you were not super familiar with before this. So I'm interested to see what you got here.
So number 8, with a raw score of 86.5, is Thurman Thomas.
Thurman Thomas.
So listen, I'm going to be honest with everybody. I'm a football guy through and through. There's just some players I just don't quite remember. But Thurman Thomas played most of his career with Buffalo. He was with that, talk about heartache. I mean,
what would you rather be?
Oh my God. Like, are we saying like Barry Sanders or Thurman Thomas?
Right. Who would you rather be?
I'd rather be Barry, honestly, in that situation. Like, to go to 4 straight Super Bowls and lose.
All 4?
All 4.
And
that's
like you were like in 1.
Yeah, like that's tough for me.
Literally, you were in 1 Super Bowl. The other 3, you got absolutely abominated.
Yeah, it's terrible. So Thurman Thomas, listen, his numbers aren't very eye-popping, but let's go through the accolades. Hall of Famer, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 1-time MVP, and a 1991 Offensive Player of the Year. He played with Jim Kelly, another all-time
Andre
great.
Reed.
Andre Reed. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons over 1,000 yards rushing.
Wow.
He only ran for over 10 touchdowns once, and that was in 1990. But he was consistent the rest of the way. The last 3 years are just kind of like forgettable.
Well, he's
he didn't
probably
really play
close
a
to
whole
the
lot.
end.
Yeah, but an average 4.2 yards for his career, almost 12,000 yards rushing, 65 touchdowns over his career. A lot of consistency there. He was a very good pass catching back. Very good pass catching back.
Yeah, when I was looking at his stats, that was a guy that I was like, oh, okay.
He was over 500 yards receiving in 5 seasons here. He did pretty well. So, I mean, Thurman Thomas is somebody that I wasn't incredibly familiar with.
Over 500 yards receiving now. It's like over 1,000 yards receiving. It's like comparable in that respect.
Yeah, you would love if you're a running back and you get 500 yards receiving.
I mean, that's what made the Bills. That's what made the Bills offense so dynamic. I think back in the early 90s, you had so many different ways that you can. How in the world is Joe Harris that open, and how did he miss that shot?
I don't know. We're so sidetracked by this basketball game because it's so intense.
It's such a good one.
It's so good.
Oh, he just got wrecked.
They called the foul on him.
Did they?
I think they just called the foul on Blake.
Oh, they did? Yeah, okay. I think that it was so multifaceted, right? That, you had Jim Kelly, who was a Hall of Fame quarterback. You had Andre Reed, who's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. You have Thurman Thomas, who's a Hall of Fame running back. And obviously, he did so much.
Oh, my God, he's so bad.
During that time where, you shake your head because a team like that should have won the Super Bowl once. They should have won the Super Bowl.
You go 4 times. Money says you're going to win at least one, right?
When you have all these guys, and as we're watching the last 16 seconds here,
wow!
Whoa!
What a crafty move! But you gave it's over. You gave
11 seconds left for KD and Kyrie.
Yeah.
Woo!
KD's an instant bucket.
Oh boy.
Oof.
We got a good one here in Milwaukee, folks.
Crafty.
Damn.
That was nice.
That was very nice. Thurman Thomas, everybody, at number 8.
All right, let's move on to number 7.
Let's move on to number 7. They'll take a quick break. Number 7. Did not think this guy was going to be on the list, but he had some interesting years with this team, and that is Tony Dorsett. Coming in at number 7, played for the Dallas Cowboys in the 70s and the 80s. Played from 1977 to 1988. He spent the majority of his career with the Dallas Cowboys. The last year he played with the Denver Broncos. He is a 4-time Pro Bowler, a 1-time All-Pro, a 1-time Super Bowl champ, 1997 Offensive Rookie of the Year. Tony Dorsett ran for over 12,700 yards, 77 career touchdowns. John, you want to hear a stat? Listen to this.
Hit me.
He led the league in rushing attempts in 1982 with 177.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah. He ran for over 1,000 yards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in his career. Never averaged... Oh, no, that's a mistake. He averaged over 100 yards once in his career, and that was in 1981. Was not much... actually, it's not so much. He had 398 career catches, over 3,500 career rushing yards, 13 career passing touchdowns in the 70s, where pass-catching running backs were not a thing. But he played he played for Dallas in a time and an era where they were very good.
Oh my God, what a disaster!
And sorry, we're watching the last couple seconds. Bruce Brown, no. How does Bruce Brown take that shot?
Yeah.
How does Bruce? You have KD and Kyrie. How does Bruce Brown take that shot?
The fact that Milwaukee won by 1.
No, it's not over. Giannis is going to the line. This game is not over.
It's not Giannis going to the line. Wait, is it Giannis going to the line?
Oh no, they have to. They're not. They have to inbound again because they're not at the. They're not at the limit yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, folks. We're really invested. We're sports fans, and I feel like people can be listening to this like tomorrow or Saturday and be like, "Oh my God, these guys are watching the game, doing their Legends countdown." Yeah, we are.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we are.
Why not?
Oh, Giannis is inbounding.
Oh.
That's a smart move.
Yeah.
That's a smart move by the head coach.
Wow, Mike Budenholzer did. Oh,
Mike
boy.
Budenholzer doing his thing.
Oh, all right, they
No,
fouled
they fouled.
Middleton. All right,
So Tony Dorsett played on a very good team. Started off at Roger Staubach. Played through the 80s and the mid 80s. The Cowboys, obviously in the 80s, that era was dominated by the San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Redskins. But Dorsett was a guy who played, rarely. Listen to this, John. He played a full season 4 times out of his 12-year career. He only played a full season 4 times, and the guy still had over 12,700 rushing yards.
that's wild.
So that goes to tell. Right, he came in 7th on our list and only played a full season 4 times.
Wow.
That is a testament to how good Tony Dorsett was. There's an argument to be made that during those 70s Cowboys years, Tony Dorsett was the best player on offense during that decade. There's an argument to be made.
Definitely.
Better than Roger Staubach. Better than whoever else was on those Cowboy teams. I think out of everyone on our list, Tony Dorsett is the most underrated player on our top 11 list. I think, personally.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely think.
I agree with you.
Tony Dorsett, number 7. We're going to take a small break. And when we come back, John is going to take us all the way back to 2001. When a running back came into the league in the mid-90s, but really didn't make his impact until a grocery store employee turned into a national phenomenon. We'll be right back on PSP. All right, Johnny, we're back here.
We are back.
And we are just talking. We left you with a clue, folks. Grocery store employee who became a national phenomenon. John, who is that?
So,
who's the grocery store employee who became a national
Kurt
phenomenon?
Warner.
Thank you very much.
So this player is very interesting. He started his career with Indianapolis and ended
Was
up
good
in
for
Seattle.
them, too.
He was good. He was definitely good, but his career definitely took a upward trajectory when he got to St. Louis.
You really want to talk about the birth of the dual threat running back? Mm-hmm. Here's your boy. I think even this is the poster child.
So here we go.
Even more than LT.
Yeah, so here we go. Marshall Faulk comes in at number... What are we up to? I keep getting distracted. Number 6 on our list with a raw score of 95.
Right.
Hall of Famer. 7-time Pro Bowler. 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ, 1-time MVP, 1994 Offensive Rookie of the Year, 1999 Offensive Player of the Year, 2000 Offensive Player of the Year, 2001 Offensive Player of the Year. So it's not often you see somebody get a second wind in their career when they go to a different team, right?
Like crazy.
Not even the same player, right? So he was good. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler when he was in Indianapolis. Then he goes to Seattle and he has those 3 All-Pro years.
Seattle.
I mean, St. Louis. I said Seattle.
I was like, wait, what?
Over almost 1,400 yards, 3 straight years, 18 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns. He had 87 receptions in 1999 for over 1,000 yards receiving.
That is sick.
That is sick. As a running back, that is sick.
In 99.
In 99. Talk about somebody, again, another player. That is an underappreciated stat. I'm going to say this in general. Joe, I want to make this known to the world. Receiving numbers for running backs are underappreciated as a whole. People forget this. People forget just how hard it is to do that. To be a running back, to understand, like to have that vision, and then to also be able to run routes in that respect.
Oh my God.
Not to mention, he was part of a team, greatest show on turf. I mean, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Kurt Warner.
That offense, it was insane.
Insanity.
And he was probably the best player on that offense.
Yeah, he was 3-time Offensive Player of the Year. Incredible. Marshall Faulk was just...
He's a beast.
An absolute beast.
I mean, I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive at his numbers really quick because I want to spend some time because I feel like this guy's underappreciated too. Marshall Faulk, okay, had 1,000-yard rushing season 7 times. He had 18 touchdowns in the 2000 year. Here's a stat for you, John. We talk about how good he is. Mm-hmm. He never averaged over 100 yards rushing in his career.
Wow.
Never. But
he probably had an absolutely absurd yards per scrimmage game, average.
Right. So yard per scrimmage, right? So 2001 was his best rushing year. He averaged 98.7 yards per game, right? Overall, he averaged 54.6 receiving yards a game. So he averaged over 150 combined yards a game during that season between rushing and receiving.
Another underappreciated stat.
So I just, it was an insane year for him. He has 767 career catches for a running back.
That's a lot.
That's higher than some of the guys that were on our wide receiver list.
Yeah.
For 6,875 yards, he had 36 career receiving touchdowns. 36. So over the course of his career, he had 100 rushing touchdowns and 36 receiving touchdowns. That's about an average of 3-1. So for every 3 rushing touchdowns he's scoring, he's getting 1 receiving touchdown.
Insane.
Incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
Incredible. And he was good for a long time, right? He was good for a long, long time. He really came off the pedal, I would say, in 2003, once he turned 30. Mm-hmm. That's when he really came off the pedal. But Marshall Faulk, we talked about LaDainian Tomlinson on this list before, and how you said how he really brought to light like the dual threat running back. I would even go a little before LT, and I would say Marshall Faulk is that guy.
Could be, yeah.
Because Marshall Faulk, it's funny. We're looking at the stats. As Marshall Faulk was funneling out of the league, LT was funneling into the league.
Yep.
And it was like that passing of the torch. Like everybody else says, oh, that passing of the torch. Like Tom Brady's passing the torch to Patrick Mahomes. Marshall Faulk passed the torch to LaDainian Tomlinson. Mm-hmm. And I just think, and I feel like LT passed the torch to Adrian Peterson, so on and so forth, right?
And it just keeps going.
And, there's always that great running back. And it's just, I think that Marshall Faulk is a guy who we have really underappreciated for far too long. Before we get into number 4, John, you want to go into our honorable mentions really quick?
Yeah, let's go through the honorable mentions. So we have a few guys here.
Want to bring up 3 guys.
Yeah. So the honorable mention here is Eric Dickerson, with a raw score of 72.
At number 14, played
14.
for the 80s Rams, who were not very good during that era at all.
No.
Not very good. He was excellent, but, close enough.
And then we have
Larry Zonka.
with a raw score of 76.5.
Larry Zonka played on the 1972 perfect Miami Dolphins.
Oh.
And he was a very, very good running back. Another guy built like a fullback, wore number 39 for the Dolphins, and was a very, very consistent player during his career in Miami.
And then you have number 12, Terrell Davis, the running back during the Denver run with John Elway, coming in at number 12 with a raw score of 79.5.
See, now Terrell Davis is
He just missed our list.
Terrell Davis is a guy that is interesting because he played the same amount of years as Gale Sayers did, 6 years. He played 6 years in the NFL.
Very short career.
95 to 2001. And in between those years, he managed to rush for over like 10,000 yards. He won 2 Super Bowls. He won an MVP award. Like, he accomplished everything that Barry Sanders couldn't in 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's insane. I mean, it helps when you have John Elway, right?
Of course. Rod Smith, Ed McCaffrey,
Yeah, so-
Shannon Sharp.
It's
a pretty loaded offense.
yeah, talk about
So,
good offense.
but, and then, so that's our honorable mentions. And now, oh my God, it's my turn.
It is your turn.
It is my turn. And we're going to get to number 5 here before we get down to the top 5.
Before you get to who we have at 5, I just want to say when we go through the top 11 teams all time, this team, I mean, they're going to be up there.
Well, we got to pick the year.
They're going to be up there. Oh, that's right. We got the actual. Yes. Okay.
They have been mentioned, at least a player.
2 times already.
All 3.
Now this is all 3. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or they had a wide receiver, they had a cornerback, and now they have a running back on this team.
And rightfully so, all 3 guys, I think.
Yeah. 100%.
Coming in at number 5 is a guy who I didn't think was going to be on this list because I didn't think his numbers were as good. But the man who was the recipient of the Immaculate Reception, Franco Harris, number 32 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who played during the years of 1972 to 1984. Franco Harris' career accolades are as follows. He is a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 1-time All-Pro, a 4-time Super Bowl champion, a 1972 Offensive Rookie of the Year, a Walter Payton recipient, and the all-time 1970s team member. That was my my NFL Films voice.
Okay, very good. I liked it.
Have you ever watched NFL Films?
Yeah.
Like the other thing, then that whole guy in the background, and he's telling a story from a book. But Franco Harris, listen to these numbers, right? So on top of all that stuff, over 12,000 career rushing yards, over 90 touchdowns. He had 91 career touchdowns, right? And he ran for over 1,000 yards 8 times over his 13-year career. So more than half of his career, he ran for over 1,000 yards. Let me try to see. Was not much of a receiving catcher.
No, he was not.
300 career catches, 2,200 receiving yards, 9 career receiving touchdowns. But the man played on so many teams. And this is before they went to a 16-game schedule. 14 games, 12 games, 12 games, 14 games, 14 games, 14 games. And you want to hear a interesting stat, John?
Go ahead, hit me.
His first year of his career, he's listed as a running back. The rest of his career, he's listed as a fullback.
It's so strange. That's so weird.
So the fullback position, who has pretty much been extinct or exterminated from the NFL today, it goes to show how versatile, these 70s Pittsburgh Steelers teams were.
Yeah.
This guy was a Pro Bowler from his rookie year all the way through 1980 through age 30. So from 22 through age 30, he was a Pro Bowler, and he was an All Pro in 1977. he had 3 consecutive years where his workload, actually, I'm sorry, 5 consecutive years where his workload increased on a year-to-year basis. And that's a big thing today, right? We talk about running backs and their workload is, right? And how many carries they get, how many touches they get, right? This man who played on a bunch of winning teams, and in the 70s when guys hit a lot harder, they were not wearing as many pads. They didn't have the medicine that they had today. They didn't have anything else that they had going on today. And this guy, consistently got carries, consistently ran for over 1,000 yards, consistently scored touchdowns. He had 5 seasons where he scored over 10 touchdowns or more. And just to boot, he won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Part of those great
My bad.
Games.
My bad. He won 4 Super Bowls. I mean, just so many great running backs. So many great running backs. The list was so difficult to choose from, but so many great guys. So Franco Harris coming in at number 5. Now, John, number 4.
Interesting one.
I think you feel like this man is the most interesting player on this list.
I do. When we were going through this, and so there was a couple of names I wasn't entirely familiar with, right? Like I love football, but if we're talking like older players, sometimes I struggle a little bit. Mm-hmm. So Marcus Allen came in at number 4 on our list.
Marcus Allen
with a raw score of 97.5.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go to Marcus Allen's accolades, right? So he's a Hall of Famer, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ, 1-time MVP, 1985 Offensive Player of the Year, 1982 Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was part of some really, really, really great Raiders teams. That period of time in the 80s where the Raiders were very good.
They won a Super Bowl.
They won a Super Bowl. And his first 4 years in the league are fantastic, right? He has only 3 seasons in his career where he rushed for over 1,000 yards.
Okay.
He has multiple seasons where he ran for over 10 touchdowns. He's ran for 123 touchdowns in his career, almost 1,300 yards. But it's weird because it seems like he was hurt a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a full-time starter. It's very weird when you're going through the numbers. There was one season where he only started 5 games. He played in 8 games. He only started 2 games and played in 8 games at 31. In 1992, he never started. He played 16 games. And then he went to Kansas City, and he had a little bit of a rebirth there. But just a weird career.
Weird career. And and a guy that came in number 4 on our list, think about what happened if he played all those games and he did all that. So that's amazing about these guys to me. It's amazing about these guys to me because they do so much in such a short period of time. Running back is such a unique position.
It really is.
Across all major sports, there's one position where you can't play for a long time. It's just physically impossible, right?
Yep.
It's not baseball. There's not a position. Hockey, there's really not a position where you play 5 years. You're all right, I'm out. Basketball, there's really not that position. Even in football, if you're a quarterback, you could play for 15 plus years, right? If you're a wide receiver, you could play for 15, 20 years. If you're an offensive or defensive lineman, you're playing for 10 or so years. Running back's the only position across 4 major sports where you could play 5, 6 years and you're all right, I've had enough.
Because you're taking so many hits.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a violent position.
And for a guy like Marcus Allen to put up those numbers on such good Raiders teams, underappreciated Raiders teams with John Madden as the head coach and Coach Flores as the head coach, it's just so...
We've discussed those Raiders teams quite a bit already.
We did, and I think, Marcus Allen, is a guy, also underappreciated like Jim Plunkett was, where he has so much, he was such a smart. I don't know if you ever watched tape on Marcus Allen. He was such a smart runner of the football, and I think there's a difference between being a runner and being a running back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way I could compare it today is you watch a guy like Leonard Fournette run, right? Leonard Fournette is a runner to me. He's a runner.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell in his heyday is a running back.
Yes. Patience.
There's a difference.
100%.
There's a difference. Now, Marcus Allen had the best of both worlds. He was a running back and he had speed.
Yeah.
So he had both of those things, right? Like Bell isn't really big, but he had the speed.
Crafty.
Leonard Fournette had the size, but wasn't really a running back. He didn't have he didn't have the knowledge.
Yeah,
of
the running back IQ, yeah.
Right. Marcus Allen was one of those unique players where he had a lot of those things. And in those guys in particular, you don't need to be a starter to do well in those situations, you know?
Yeah.
I just think you don't. So I think he's a guy that I think he's a guy that we if we're talking about top 11, there's a lot of guys who were left out of our list that we would consider before we consider Marcus Allen. And the reality is that Marcus Allen is an all-time great running back.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he's being mentioned here.
Definitely.
I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he's number 4 in our list. I don't agree with the algorithm.
He would have made the
in this
top
respect,
11.
But I think he would definitely be in our top 11 for sure.
The top 3 gets really good, though. So
The top 3, well, if no one's really paying attention, the top 3 that we have not mentioned yet are, in no particular order, Jim Brown, Walter Payton, and Emmitt Smith. So
coming in at number 3.
coming in at number 3 on our top 3
This is you, Joe.
is all me.
It's all you.
Is Sweetness. Number 3 plus 4, Walter Payton. Number 34 for the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears. Walter Payton played from the years of 1975 to 1987.
Raw score of 98, by the way.
With the Chicago Bears, with a raw score of 98, a half a point higher than Marcus Allen. Let us go over the career statistics.
Incredible
for
numbers.
Walter Payton. 16,276 rushing yards, 110 touchdowns, a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, a Super Bowl champion in the 1985 Chicago Bears and their absolutely fantastic team, an MVP winner, part of the, listen to this, John, he's a 1970s all-time, he's on the all 1970s team, he's on the all 90s 80s team. He made 2 all-decade teams, not 1, 2. I guarantee you, if you were to make a list like that, there's maybe 5 guys or less that are on that list.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's one of those guys.
He has an award named after him.
Yeah, literally has an award named after him. 1977 Offensive Player of the Year. And 1977 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. So he was the first person to win the award himself, obviously. Now, for his career. Now, you talk about wear and tear on a running back. Listen to this. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. From 1976 to 1986, he had over 300 rushing attempts every season, with the exception of 1982 because he got hurt.
Wow.
Over 300 career rushing attempts every year. He ran for the highest amount he ever ran for was 1,852 rushing yards. But he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years where he ran for over 1,000 yards.
Wow.
11!
Very impressive.
I mean, the guy was unbelievable. In 1977, he averaged 132 yards a game.
Jeez.
Just on the ground!
Wow.
We talked before about Marshall Faulk averaging a combined 154 yards a game, both receiving and rushing. Mm-hmm. My dude averaged 132 just on the ground on his own.
Incredible.
Was not much of a... Actually, that's not true. 492 career receptions, over 4,500 career receiving yards. In the year where he averaged 132 yards a game, he averaged 19 yards through the air.
Wow.
So 151. Right, so think about that. We're talking about Walter Payton as like in that season, the 1977 season, where he was phenomenal. And he averaged just as many yards as Marshall Faulk did. And Marshall Faulk did not average 100 yards rushing that year. Think about the disparity, but like the complexity that goes into how the NFL has evolved from the 70s and 80s to the 2000s and the 2010s.
It's hard to see a guy run for that many yards now, you know?
And just to, as you mentioned before, this guy was so good and was so amazing as a person that he has his own award named after him.
Yep.
He is a guy that is unlike any other in the NFL. He is in a class of his own, widely regarded by a lot of people as the number one running back ever played the game.
He comes in at number 3 on our list.
And he what's there to be said? Nothing. Really nothing to be said.
Mic drop on that.
Mic drop on Walter Payton.
So
now,
number 2 is one of the most impressive careers I've ever seen in my life.
oh yeah, give it to me, honey.
So number 2 on our list with a raw score of 114 is the great, the legendary Jim Brown.
Jimmy Brown.
So Jim Brown, listen, everybody, if you're not familiar with Jim Brown,
I feel like everybody's gonna be cursing us right now that Emmitt Smith's number 1.
so Hall of Famer, he played 9 years. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler. He made the Pro Bowl all 9 years. He is an 8-time All-Pro. He made the All-Pro team, first team All-Pro, 8 times out of 9 seasons.
It's amazing.
1-time NFL champ, 3-time MVP, 1957 offensive rookie of the year. Dude, the numbers are just outrageous.
And he played on the Browns when they were like amazing.
Yeah, so his whole career, there's only 2 seasons where he would have ran for over 1,000 yards every season, but there's 2 where he has like 950. Incredible numbers.
As if that's bad or something.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's not bad. He led the league in rushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of his 9 years. He led the league in rushing.
That's ridiculous.
His average yards a game is 104 for his career. 127, 110, 104, 100, 133,
that to me is the
110.
most impressive thing. That to me is the most impressive thing.
And he was a little bit of a receiver. In 1962, he had 47 receptions for 517 yards.
Hey!
Jim Brown is an all-time great. Not to mention, Jim Brown is just an all-time great person. A pioneer for player voice across all the major sports. Like he's a legend, an absolute legend.
I mean, there's really nothing. I think
there's really nothing else to say.
The most impressive thing you said was, I think, to me, was how he averaged over 100 yards for his career a game.
Yeah.
And 7 or 8 years that he played, he averaged like over 100 yards. We're going on this list, and we're going down this list, and we're mentioning guys like Marshall Faulk, guys like LaDainian Tomlinson, guys like Walter Payton, and guys like that, Marcus Allen. And these guys aren't averaging over 100 yards a game carrying the football. My guy did it for 8 of 9 seasons. Are we serious?
Insane.
I mean, think about how tough. This is why I didn't want to manually do this with you, because I wanted to leave it to an out. Can you imagine the two of us sitting down and deciding between Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and Jim Brown, who's the greatest running back of all time?
It's hard. You can't. You just can't.
We'd get into a fight.
Yeah, you can't do it.
We'd get into a fight because I would stand head over heels for fucking Barry Sanders, and you would probably be head over heels for a guy like, Emmitt Smith or Walter Payton or even Jim Brown, and it's just like we'd be butting heads for like 12 hours. It's just not worth it.
No.
So thank you, algorithm, for making this life easy on us.
And it put him at number 2, which number 1.
Number 1. All right, let's
ahead.
get it out. All the Cowboy fans listening, we hear you clapping and cheering. Yes, I know. Emmitt Smith, the number 1 running back on all time. He joins our fellow number 1, our all-time PSP Legends team. Currently consists of Jerry Rice, Randy Moss as our top 2 receivers, Emmitt Smith is our running back, and then our top 2 corners were, remind me?
Top 2 corners
were, my mind is so forgetful these days.
I got it. No, I got it.
My mind is so forgetful these days. I'm keeping a running tab of who's on our all-time team. Our number 1 corner was, oh my God, why am I blowing him?
Who was it? Hold on, I gotta scroll back.
Yeah, that's all right. Let me go into
Emmett. Through Emmett.
Let me go into Emmitt Smith a little bit. Emmitt Smith, obviously, he's enshrined in Canton in 2010. 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, 3-time Super Bowl champion.
Rod Woodson and Charles Woodson.
Yes, Rod and Charles. The Woodson Bros.
Yes.
3-time Super Bowl champ, 1-time MVP, all 90s team, Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1990, and 1993 Best Running Back Award. 18,355 career rushing yards.
Is he the all-time leading rusher?
He is the all-time leading rusher. 164 career touchdowns. That is also the most for a running back in the history of the game.
11 straight seasons of over 1,000 yards rushing.
11, John just mentioned, led the league in rushing 4 times. Never rushed for over 2,000 yards, but had 1, 2, 3 seasons where he rushed for over 1,500 yards. He had 2 years where he rushed for 21 and 25 touchdowns in 2 consecutive seasons. And that was the all-time record held until LaDainian Tomlinson broke it, I believe in 2003 or 2004. I can't remember what year it was. Talk about another guy. Think about this, right? We're talking about Jim Brown just now. Mm-hmm. Emmitt Smith had 18,000 career rushing yards, but he only averaged over 100 yards rushing 3 times in his career.
Wow.
3
Insane.
times. 92, 93, and 95. All the years that the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. For his receiving career, 515 receptions, 3,200 receiving yards, 11 receiving touchdowns in his career. And Emmitt Smith was a man who was just part of that trifecta, that Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin trifecta. And Emmitt was, I don't even want to hear a discussion from any Cowboy fan that Emmitt Smith was not the most important player on those teams.
He made them go, too.
Easily was. If you don't have Emmitt Smith, there is no Michael Irvin. If you don't have Emmitt Smith, there is no Troy Aikman.
Yeah, you're right.
Emmitt Smith, to me, right? So I said earlier in this podcast that Barry Sanders was the most talented running back to ever play in the NFL. Emmitt Smith has had the best running back career of any running back in the NFL. I do not believe that our algorithm got this wrong.
No,
I think when it comes to statistics and it comes to winning and it comes to personal accolades and everything else collected, Emmitt Smith ticks every single box humanly possible.
Yeah.
He is an absolute warrior. Him, as well as the Dallas Cowboys, were the team of the 90s. This is where America's team was born.
Dominance.
The name America's team came from these guys. And Emmitt Smith was the face of that team.
Yep. He really was.
He is a guy who is literally the reason that the Cowboys are hated today.
Yep.
Because the Cowboys had their own nickname.
Exactly.
It's a career that I do not know if it will ever be duplicated in a sport where the running back position is being underutilized more than ever. It looks like it's becoming harder and harder to rush for the yards that these guys are rushing for. I think guys like Derrick Henry are the last of a dying breed. And the Christian McCaffreys are what we're going to start seeing from now on. And to see a guy who played in the late 80s and the early 90s, not even the late 80s, 1990 through 2004, he gracefully ended his career in Arizona.
With almost 1,000 yards rushing.
Yeah. No. In his last year, he ran for 937 yards. And
at 35 years old.
At 35 years old. It was a very, very tough decision between, obviously, Jim Brown and Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith when it came to the top 3. But Emmitt Smith was the first guy that I did the raw score for. And goddamn it, he held the tower all the way through to the end.
It's a good list, Joe.
So it's a good list. To go over our top 11 one more time, we got Jerome Bettis, we have LaDainian Tomlinson, Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, Tony Dorsett, Marshall Faulk, Franco Harris, Marcus Allen, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, and Emmitt Smith.
What a list.
Give ourselves a round of applause a little bit. Yeah.
So where are we going next week? I think we're going to the defensive side of the ball.
We are going to the meanest position on the football field, John.
What's that?
We are going to teeth breakers.
Ooh.
We are going to meat grinders.
Ooh.
We are going to kneecappers. Hashtag Dan Campbell. Hashtag Detroit Lions 2021 football. We are going to the mean, disgusting, jailbreaking.
Oh, God. Spit it out already.
Linebackers.
Hell yeah. Let's go. Joe already kind of thinks he knows who's going to be number one. I don't think so.
The likes of Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Ray Lewis, whoever else is out there.
Patrick Willis.
Lawrence Taylor. Come on down. We are waiting for you. We are waiting for you. And then linebacker top 11. John, it has been fun.
Yes.
We are about to depart. I need to go to bed.
Yeah, Joe is exhausted.
I am very tired. But we will get this pod out tomorrow. So if you're listening to it, it should be Friday, June 11th, 2021.
Yep.
And we hope you're enjoying your night. John, any last words before we leave?
I'm good, man. I'm ready to KO myself.
Let's do it. KO'd. The running backs are KO'd. Next week, we have linebackers in store. For John McCarthy, for Spencer Blinn, for Joe Miglio, it's a Perfect Spiral Podcast. And we out.